first things first, probably the biggest news story at the moment, and to be quite honest, should be massive compared to the sort of pressures that people have put on peace in the Middle East in the past. It's surprising a little that it's getting the coverage that it is in terms of what is being said. Not so much the fact that there is a peace agreement that's been agreed to in the first phase. That is, well, mostly being welcomed. The obviously negotiation for the remaining elements of the agreement. And so I think it's been a massive big step. And so we're going to have a quick look at the agreements at the moment. There's lots of celebration from people on the ground in Israel and Gaza, which seems fair enough. We'd expect at the moment, looking at what the articles are saying, that there's going to be a return of the hostages and their remains Monday or Tuesday next week, and that there's going to be additional, obviously, negotiation for the remaining steps. There's already been claims made by some of the political parties in Israel that if Hamas aren't completely dismantled, that they're going to bring down the government. So there's plenty of tension still within the respective groups of people. There is, Yitzhak Rabin had tried for peace many years ago and suffered for it. The other thing that's sort of come up that's sort of not been memed just yet, but probably is this picture actually of Marco Rubio letting Trump know that basically there'd been an agreement at the first pass, which has very strong echoes to when President Bush was notified about the attacks on the Twin Towers. It's got very strong echoes to that image. One led to many wars. One could lead to an incredible peace. So, kind of an interesting juxtaposition, I guess. So he was in the middle of a televised committee meeting as such when that notice came through. So, important, the Qataris and Egypt and Turkey were involved, acting as the, not mediators, message runners, I guess, for the Hamas delegation. I don't know who was acting as the message runners for the Israelis, but after the initial list of options came out, and there was talk last week of them moving into non-in-person, well, not indirect talks. There we go. It's at Sharm el-Sheikh, and it's not the first time they've had negotiations at Sharm el-Sheikh, which is a resort in Egypt. Apparently, they're on separate floors of the building, and obviously messages went back and forth in order to do the exchange. So it's good. Of course, media can't let things be. Can't give Trump the win. Can't build towards a lasting peace. I reckon had anyone else done it, had it been Bill Clinton back in the day, Obama, even the various Bushes, the media would probably be singing and dancing from the mountaintops for these. But instead, we've got the media throwing water on it, saying it's a fear it could be short-lived, particularly once the Israeli hostages are freed. Now, there was an airstrike last night, our time, so Thursday night, in Gaza, and the Israelis said it was because the Hamas had pushed a military unit too close to Israeli troops. There's not much space in Gaza to begin with. So the 72 hours, I don't know if that's 72 hours from now, but obviously those 20 points are going to be negotiated from here. I'm not sure at this stage from the articles how many of the initial points have been agreed to, but the big one is apparently Israel is going to pull back to that first line of withdrawal that was put up. So it's 53%, I think, that they're going to pull back from. Now, people say, oh, that's going to be a success, but Israel had previously completely withdrawn from Gaza. It only reoccupied post October 7, 2023. So it's not it's not a unique situation for Israel not to be in Gaza. It had been that way for years. But yeah, I mean, a withdrawal is still important, given where things have been. They've also apparently got to push through. I mean, they said details aren't yet to be revealed. I'm pretty sure the agreement that I've seen in other coverage is that it's to that first 53% line, and yep, full details yet to come. While Hamas said it needed to be total and immediate, the staggered release is more realistic. It's more pragmatic, and yeah, there needs to be obviously a back and forth. May still need to be, well, I don't know. I think the agreement has a pretty good plan, and there's certainly pressure. And obviously people are relieved on both sides. They obviously say, I mean, it'll see. Now, there was, I don't know if it was this article, yeah, Trump may have been key. Okay, so the article's already trying to dismiss the role Trump played, and that, oh no, it can't be given to him. Can't give him credit. Well, they didn't happen earlier, and people didn't have the courage to do it. So, yeah, they've got to have a dig at Trump, even though fundamentally nothing happened without him being there. One of the articles, I'm not sure if it's the SBS article here, this SBS article. Yep, there's obviously still plenty of questions about what's going on. Key out of those who are being released or meant to be released by Israel are all the women and children taken since 2023. I think like 1,300 others that have been arrested since then, plus a bunch more that have been held previously. What Israel has said, though, is that they're not releasing the remains of two top Hamas leaders, and there's a third key Hamas leader that they're hanging on to for now. And now, it may be that they do get released down track, but there are certainly people who view the exchange of remains and alive hostages for prisoners and prisoner remains as being a bit one-sided. That Israel has gained 70-odd sets of remains and hostages, and the Palestinians have gained an order of magnitude more in terms of who gets returned. And, well, some people are saying that's not very even balanced. Well, it's part of the agreement. I don't know that there's a scope for it to be declared evenly balanced. But, yeah, we'll see. Still going to wait and see whether or not Hamas do agree to the path of being fully dismantled. Now, there's been stuff on social media, so it's a bit hard to verify, that suggested that there's been some factional fighting within Gaza between various Palestinian factions. Hamas the other week had executed publicly a handful of people that alleged were Israeli spies, and there are certain other, I don't know if you'd say they were tribal or linked to families as such, but certain other factions that have pushed back against Hamas a bit more than they'd been gamed to previously. So there may be power structures ready to move in if Hamas are fully dismantled. And there's also the question or the concern about whether Hamas will rebadge itself. People will go away and then come back as something different and reclaim power and fundamentally not make any difference in the long run. Maybe. That is all speculation, though, because we've got to still see what the outcomes are going to be. Netanyahu certainly took pressure and did take a lot of heat for actions in the last, several weeks or so. And it did lead to it becoming, I guess, a bit more isolated. But we'll see where it goes. In fact, I don't think this article has it. It talks about the pressure of regional states on Hamas to agree to a deal and everything else, and when it happened. And I mean, some people are saying it's actually a Tony Blair deal. Some people are saying that other leaders had made similar sort of deals no one had agreed to, so Trump shouldn't get credited for it because these are the sort of decisions other people had made. You can say what you want, but if you weren't going to get people to buy in, then what's the point of saying you made that decision? I mean, ideas are cheap. It's implementation that's costly. So, yep, everyone's approved. I think... No. All right. So, there's not a lot of... It must be in another article somewhere that I saw and didn't add to the list. But where this apparently came from initially was on the sidelines at the UN General Assembly. So what had happened, according to this other article, is that Trump sat down with not just Arab countries on the sideline, but he specifically sat down with a number of Islamic countries. So that included Indonesia and, in particular, Indonesia. Turkey's not really Middle East. It's kind of half Europe. There's another country that it listed too. But anyway, they sat down with a number of Islamic nations, not just Arab nations, and brought together, not necessarily a coalition, but brought together a consensus on what to do, how to roll forward. And so built a pressure on Hamas in that method. And it was obviously Qatar and Saudis and Jordan and all the other, and Egypt and all the other nations that had basically signed on to the agreement. So there may have been the framework for an agreement. Apparently the Israelis had been involved previously and again afterwards, but it was on the sidelines at the General Assembly where this sort of really kicked into gear and a workable solution was basically developed. So this is, in political terms, this has happened extraordinarily fast. Now, people may have had a plan going into the meeting of what they're going to demand, what they're going to request, what sort of give and take there was going to be. And given that the General Assembly was like barely a month ago, it's, really, really quick. So it's good to see that they've progressed, and Trump said that he's heading into the Middle East this weekend, presumably to talk to a few of the parties firsthand, and obviously attend a couple of events, etc. There you go. He has been invited to talk to the Knesset this Sunday, I believe, and he may head to Egypt as well. And presumably he's going to hang around there for an extra couple of days to oversee the return of the hostages, which I think it's important. There you go. Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has invited him for celebrations in Egypt, and there's yes, numerous issues remain unsettled. I mean, the fact that people have signed on to the first thing, come on, give credit where credit's due. They're complaining that every detail hasn't been completely worked out. Yeah, they're looking a gift horse in the mouth, quite clearly. Um, Obviously, there are issues, but I mean, at some point, people are going to have to expect or accept a reality that their position is not as widely supported as they might, and so we'll see. We'll see how it rolls. Um, Obviously, as I said before, there's concerns within parties within Israel of there being insufficient, well, being there too much, being given one way or another. We'll see. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. So the deal's done, and, well, like they did with Iran, there's been attacks basically right up to the ceasefire line. So we'll see. We will see. It would be good. So up to 400 trucks a day, apparently, are expected through of humanitarian aid.